Hello and welcome to my channel, Kuromus here. Today I am featuring the College of Swords Bardlock, a swordman bard with a warlock's pact weapon. This will be a melee caster with access to the control bard spells, plus very strong melee capabilities. If you fancy a duelist with a touch of magic, this build might be just for you. To make the build feel as a swordman early on, we will focus on progressing as a bard first. This will let us use our Flourishes at level 3. This will spend our bardic inspiration to perform different moves in melee or ranged. At this level we will also be able to wear medium armor, which is vital since we do not have that many hit points. For this build we will focus on the melee Flourishes only. At level 5 our bardic inspiration will recharge every short rest, so we can cast Flourishes more effectively, and at level 6 we will receive our second attack. At this point we will multiclass into warlock, so at level 9 we can access Pact of the Blade, so we can use our charisma modifier instead of our dexterity for our attack rolls. In the early game I encourage you to use the gloves of dexterity to have consistent damage and chance to hit, since we will obtain the pact late in the game. We will finish our build as a Bard 8, Warlock 4. Kindly read the description of this video to understand my thought process and some considerations for these guides. Also, click the button down below to support my content. Without delay, let's begin. We will start our journey as a Bard, so we're going to be a spell caster based on the charisma attribute. We select our spells. You have very strong ones like Sleep or Thunder Wave early on, and we get access to our bardic inspiration. For our starting instrument, the drum is a no-brainer, and then for abilities we're going to focus on dexterity and charisma. With this build we will not have proficiency with shields, so if you want to have that, you may want to be a human or a half-elf, for example. I must say it really helps on the early portion of the game. At level 2 we get Song of Rest, which essentially is another short rest for you and your party. Also keep in mind the Bard is usually excellent in many skill checks, so it is a great candidate for a main character. At level 3 we choose our subclass and we're going to be College of Swords. This will grant us access to our flourishes, and we're mainly going to have 3: slashing flourish, defensive flourish and mobile flourish. These will spend one of our bardic inspirations to add an effect and 1d6 extra damage. We obtain proficiency with medium armor and scimitar, and on top of that we get access to level 2 spells. I go for hold person, and finally we get a fighting style. I usually like dueling, but you can do 2-weapon fighting if you prefer so. At level 4 we continue getting some spells and our first feat. Keep in mind that we are not great at keeping concentration, however these spells are quite strong early on, and we can replace them later if they do not work for us. As our feat we are going to go for ability improvement, charisma, since we want to have strong spell casting and we're going to use it later for our attack rolls and damage. At character level 5 we will get Font of Inspiration. This will make our bardic inspiration charges to refresh on a short or long rest, and also our bardic inspiration dice will improve from 1d6 to 1d8. We learn the spell Hypnotic Pattern and then we move into level 6. At this level we get an extra attack, and now we are ready to multiclass into Warlock. I select Fear as our second level 3 spell, and then we move on. So at level 7 we multiclass into Warlock. We get access to Eldritch Blast that can support us if we want to do ranged damage. For our Warlock subclass we're going to select the Fiend, since it's going to give us temporary hit points when we down an enemy. For the spells, Hellish Rebuke is great since we can use an upcast to deal massive damage once we get attacked. And we also can get Hex since it's a great extra boost to our damage. At Warlock level 2 we get an additional spell plus Eldritch Invocations. We are not going to focus on Eldritch Blast for this build, so we're going to go with Devil's Sight and Fiendish Vigor. With Devil's Sight we will be able to see in the darkness even magical. So now we can fight inside the darkness spell without any concerns. At character level 9 we're going to get our pact boon. This will be Pact of the Blade. So we will be able to bind our weapon so it will use our charisma modifier. At character level 10 we will get our 4th and last level in warlock. This is mainly to get access to our second feat. We get to choose another spell, I go for mirror image, and we boost our charisma to a total of 20. At level 11 we go back to Bard and we select greater invisibility since it is a great escape tool and it can help us stay durable during a fight. To close the build for our last feat I decided to go for Savage Attacker to make our damage a little bit more consistent, but feel free to choose something else if you prefer. Now for the items that I have equipped, the Diadem of Arcane Synergy goes really great with this build. Since we are a little bit of a Gish character, we use our charisma for striking, so it will add a +5 extra damage with my current stats. As for the rest of the items, nothing really extraordinary because I'm just trying to showcase the build and the skills, and I don't like to focus that much into the items since it depends on your playthrough and what things you have found. Just to give you an example, these gloves, I were not able to obtain them in this playthrough and they would fit extremely well with this build. Now for the combat showcase, I currently have casted Hex from the previous combat and also have Long Strider for increased movement speed. We do not have a great defense with this character, we are a little bit squishy, so we need to focus on killing the enemies fast. Here I open up with defensive Flourish. If it connects, it will add a +4 to our armor class for the rest of our turn. Since most of the time we will be striking in melee to enemies, we can use our reactions and spell slots to cast Hellish Rebuke. Here I cut a bit of the footage because I was trying to position myself to cast an hypnotic pattern. We managed to skip some of their turns by doing this, and also to showcase a little bit of the spellcasting, why not? After the enemy tries to attack us, they're going to position themselves very close to each other. So I can proceed and use the Slashing Flourish. This will deal damage in an area within melee range. I would say is the attack that you will use the most with this build, since it is extremely powerful. Since one of the enemies is almost dead, I decide to use Hex in one of them before proceeding to deal the area of effect damage. As you can see, when I'm casting the spell, I get to choose if I use the Warlock spell slot or the Bard ones. Since we defeated an enemy, we get the Dark Swan's Blessing, granting us some temporary hit points. The combat is almost over and the enemies get very close to each other, so I managed to kill them both with another Slashing Flourish. The last flourish that I did not manage to showcase here is the Mobile Flourish. This skill will let us do a short dash, push the enemy away, and then we have the possibility to teleport very close to him.
Time for some bloody work.
Since we have the Devil's Sight, we can cast Darkness, and this will let us fight normally while our enemies have disadvantage since they are blind. As usual, thank you very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what do you think, and see you in the next one. Adios!